How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck. And in today's video, we've got 3 topics to cover, starting out with some new features coming to the Steam Deck. Then we're going to talk about how this YouTuber got sick of waiting for Valve to release the Steam Controller 2 that is done and like pretty much ready to be released. So he made his own and it's awesome. And finally, I finished Elden Ring Nightreign after 80 hours. So I figured I'd give you my review since I played a lot of it on the Steam Deck. So yeah, let's jump into the first news story here because this one is very interesting. All these features that are coming to the Steam Deck are under the accessibility banner, but I think they're good features that everyone's going to want to know about. They almost feel like cheat codes for your actual console OS, which I think is sweet. The big one that I think is going to go a long way for people, and I'd argue should just be built into the OS as a general feature instead of being under the accessibility banner, is UI scaling. It depends on the screen you're using. I think the built-in UI scaling is pretty good. Like when I use SteamOS on my TV, I can read everything. When I use it on my Steam Deck, I can read everything. When I use it on my Legion Go S, everything looks great. But, you know, text being small is probably the biggest issue for most games on the Steam Deck. It's the one thing I see people complain about the most. And most games come with built-in UI sliders, but there hasn't really been one for the Steam Deck until now. So you're going to be able to change the size of the UI, the overall look and feel of SteamOS to your heart's content. That's great. They're also adding in a high contrast mode. I know people use that with FPS games to make things easier to see. I might check it out in Hunt Showdown, honestly, because I love the way that game looks. It's graphically perfect. It's beautiful. It's amazing. But because of the way HDR is implemented, there's a lot of dark shadows, and people who use skins that have a black costume on, they can hide in bushes. Like the worst skin you can use is the Post Malone basic skin because he wears a white hat. So if you hide in a bush, it's like a target sticking out of the bush. But then there's this lady who has like an Assassin's Creed black cloak. She can hide anywhere, man. Like you run right by her and she shoots you in the back of the head. So like there's also a black and white mode coming to the handheld with this update. I think this is good, but it also is emblematic of a lot of stuff I've been talking about lately where they've kind of finished SteamOS. Like they're as close to finished as they can be. They're following a similar trajectory to Sony on the PlayStation 5. Like in the beginning of the generation, you were getting features all the time, like being able to use the extra SSD slot, being able to use 1440p output, you know, a lot of stuff that should have been there day one. It took them a little bit to get going on. There have been other features added that are really big. And now when you get a PS5 update, they either change some text or they take out a feature that no one's really using. It's never really anything new. Like they have this great feature from launch where there's game cards. So if you're working on an achievement in a game, there would be a video recorded by the developer on how to get the achievement. Now they've crowdsourced it. Like the PS5 automatically records when you get a trophy, so you can opt in to have that footage uploaded, and it's terrible. It's such a downgrade. So I'd say Valve is in that side of the ecosystem now where like they've finished SteamOS and they're just adding in the stuff that's like extra things to work on when we're done with it. But the reason I think that's good is obviously that they can move on to the Steam Deck 2. I know a lot of people are convinced that it's going to be 2028 or 2029. I think the latest we see the Steam Deck 2 is 2027, and my money is still on the end of 2026. I know they're not using the Z2 Extreme. They kind of debunked the Aerith Plus rumors, which is weird because it's their chip. So like, why wouldn't they be using it? Regardless, I think they're probably pretty hard at work on the next gen Steam Deck. And also I saw that $3,000 one was bought by Sadly It's Bradley on Twitter, who's like my favorite source for anything leaking from Valve's game updates. That thing costs $3,000 and it's really interesting. I'll do a full video on it, but it did have support for a discrete GPU. So that might be a way to get better performance, but then I don't know. I think battery life would be a huge sacrifice there, obviously, because you'd be drawing more power with the discrete GPU. Who knows? They are working on it. I think 2026 is the year, but 2027 is probably the latest we'll see it, even taking Valve time into account. I know these other companies like Asus and Lenovo, they rush out products, you know, for minor spec bumps, and they do sacrifice battery life. But the numbers on the Z2 Go and Z2 Extreme are good enough where I feel like the next generation of that would be good enough for the Steam Deck, where you'd get performance that allows it to play games like Expedition 33 and Oblivion Remastered without cranking the settings lower than they're supposed to go. And once you hit that point, I think you're good. And then hopefully they can get on a mid-cycle refresh cadence or something like that. I know consoles traditionally last 7 to 10 years, handhelds are different, and PC does move a lot faster than traditional consoles, so I feel like 4 or 5 years out of the original Steam Deck is more than good enough. Like, I am not excited to move on just yet because I still use the thing every day and I'm totally satisfied with it, as you'll see in the third segment of this video, but I wouldn't say no to new hardware that performs a lot better, especially after using the Legion Go S. That thing is good. It's not the Steam Deck 2 by any means. I think that was crazy to call it that after using it, but it is nice to have some of those extra features it brings along. But yeah, speaking of new Steam Deck hardware, where is the Steam Controller 2, man? Like, that's the second news story here. A guy made his own because he got sick of waiting. Tommy B on YouTube if you want to check out the video. But like, how hard is it to just finish it? I mean, they've leaked the files. It doesn't look that crazy, right? Like, they took the Steam Deck, they cut out the screen, they combined it into one controller, and they called it a day. I'd imagine that battery life is a concern because of the touchpads, but even then, I mean, Sony's pushing out controllers that cost $200 and last 60 minutes at most. So like, if they can get away with it, Valve can. I don't think they should, but I just can't imagine what the big holdup is unless they want to launch it alongside a Steam Deck 2 or the Steam console that's been heavily rumored forever. But getting back on track here, we've seen different versions of this before, but I've never seen one quite like this. Tommy B didn't just take a Steam Deck and cut it in half. He worked with a new board. He also came up with a new form of touchpad. It's not actually the touchpads from the Steam Deck. He just straight up says he doesn't know how those work, so he implemented his own touchpads that are kind of boutique, and they apparently work a little bit better. It also has a new board because handheld controllers are actually seen, I guess, as two controllers, so it actually needs a new board to kind of unify it and see it as one controller. But after all of his hard work, he was able to create this controller, and I think it's awesome. He used a cool sort of purple see-through case from one of these third-party manufacturers, and the coolest thing is he shared the entire process on YouTube and the full parts list that he used, and I guess he's going to share the software that runs the actual controller because he developed his own custom software to run the entire thing. Like, he put in some actual work, so I highly recommend checking out the full video. In the meantime, if you're in the market for a good controller, I got to give a huge shout out to my friend Felix from Deck Filter. He sponsored a video, I think 2 videos ago. So hey Felix, if you're watching, thanks a lot for suggesting the 8-bit Do Ultimate Controller 2. That thing is sick. I bought the one that's on screen right now. It's the Bluetooth version that also comes with a 2.4G adapter. The cool thing is the adapter has a little housing in the dock. So if you plug in the dock at your desk, you don't need the adapter. It like works with the USB connected to the dock, which I think is cool. But if you don't want to use the dock, you can take the adapter out and bring it with you, or you can just use Bluetooth, which is what I did on my laptop. This controller is great. It feels very similar to an Xbox style controller, but it's a little more rounded. It's kind of like a halfway difference between the Xbox controller and the Switch Pro controller, which I think is great. The back buttons are the real killer feature. Because they're on the handles, they're in a perfect spot so you can push them when you want to or ignore them when you want to. And then there's 2 extra buttons next to the bumpers. The quality feels great, and it was only $60, and the battery life seems to be like 30 or 40 hours. So while we wait for the Steam Controller 2, if you're looking for a controller right now, I cannot recommend the 8-bit Do Ultimate Controller 2 enough, man. Like, that controller is excellent, and it has totally replaced the DualSense Edge, which costs $200 as my main PC controller, just because you can use it non-wired. Like, that's the biggest downfall of the DualSense Edge, that you have to use it wired because the battery life is so bad. I can't believe Sony got away with that. It's crazy. So yeah, check out Tommy B's video. Hopefully we don't have too long to wait about the Steam Controller 2, but yeah, I'll keep you updated on that as soon as news drops. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel with your notifications set to all. And if you want to be extra awesome, follow me on Twitter at deck_ready. So yeah, for the third topic today, you guys know I like to highlight a game I've played a lot recently on the Steam Deck, and this is my game of the year, and it's going to be really tough to beat. I know people are obsessed with Expedition 33. It's cool. It's just not clicking with me all that much. I know people are thinking that Oblivion Remastered should be in there. This is just the best game I've played in so long. And it seems like if you just give it the time of day to get past, you know, the first couple of hours, or at least the first boss, it really will click with you. Because that's what happened to me. I was kind of not feeling it for the first boss and how hard it was. But once I got past the first boss, I was absolutely hooked. I mean, it's less than a month old and I put 80 hours into it. And I got one of the hardest achievements I've ever gotten ever in any game, which is beating 3 Night Lords in a row. So like 3 full matches not losing in in a row, and I did it with the last 3 bosses. So I did the Dark Drift Knight, who's really hard. I did the Ice Dragon, who's like, you know, he's kind of a bitch. I don't know why he's the second to last boss, honestly, because he's just a dragon. He has the same moveset as every other dragon in every Souls game ever. And then finally, there's like the Elden Lord or whatever his name is, and he was tough. We got lucky because there's these things called shifting earth where the map can change. So one of them is like a big magma pit at the center. If you make your way all the way down to the bottom and kill the magma worm, you can get an orange level item, which is crazy. There's an ice one where if you kill a dragon at the top, you get extra frost damage and a legendary weapon. There's a Scarlet Rot zone, which is like a blood forest that just spawns a bunch of mini bosses. That one's the most fun. And then finally, there's a city that spawns in the bottom left of the map, and you can fight a boss that I think is called Renala. I'm not super well versed on Elden Ring boss names because I've tried the first Elden Ring so many times, but now I'm fully hooked on it. If you beat Renala, you get a buff that basically gives you a free revive with extra health for an indeterminate amount of time. We needed that for the last boss, but I beat the last 3 bosses, got the hardest achievement, and I did most of it on my Steam Deck. So as far as settings go, same as Elden Ring, set it to medium, lock it to 30. I've seen reviews say that it introduces input lag if you use the Steam Deck's built-in limiter. I think you're being a little first world problem-y there. Like, I'm a big stickler for input lag, and I even went and tested it. I guess it's there, but it's so borderline perceivable that I would argue that it feels like playing any game at 30 FPS. And people were saying that they missed button inputs. Skill issue. I'm just going to be real with you guys. I didn't miss any button inputs, and I'm not the best Souls player in the world. I guess the frame limiter introduces a little bit of input lag, but like, again, I beat the game on the Steam Deck with multiplayer. So I think that's a fair enough assessment of the overall input lag situation. It's kind of funny. This is not really a live service game, but I wish it was because it's just so much fun. I've put almost 100 hours into it and I still want to keep playing it. Thankfully, they added in a hard mode boss and he tanks your frame rate because it's the T-Rex in his phase 2 with a new moveset that's just like super animation heavy. But regardless, for 40 bucks, I mean, you really can't do much better. And I know people are mad that they reused Elden Ring assets. Who cares? I care about having fun at the end of the day, and what they've created here at From Software is a really fun game. And as someone who wasn't super hyped for the Duskbloods because it felt like, you know, not like a full level From Software game, after seeing what they were able to do with this, their first sort of battle royale sort of spin-off for Elden Ring, I'm super excited to see what they can do. I really have nothing more to say other than you should buy this game and play it on Steam Deck. No giveaway this time. I gave away a copy that I paid for with my own money, so I'll do one in the future. But yeah, if you have it on your wish list, it'll probably be on a little bit of a discount during the Steam summer sale, and I cannot recommend picking it up enough. Anyway, guys, as always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.